That's when we're live answering all your gardening questions on many different platforms, everything from Facebook. You can see us on Twitter as well as YouTube and LinkedIn. For those that don't know me, my name is Frank Ferragini, aka Frankie Flowers of City TV's Breakfast Television, four-time best-selling garden author, a guy that's really passionate about plants. I always say I'm wild about weather, but I'm here each and every week to kind of help you through this journey called gardening, to help you with your garden woes and make that garden of Whedon turn into the Garden of Eden. Yes, and along the way, our community will also help you answer some of your questions. If you're wondering, how can I get to all the answers? I can't, but the community here is hopping on and helping out as well. Here we are. It's Father's Day 2022, probably the best thing that ever happened to me in the entire world and the entire history of me was becoming a father. The first time that happened was on November 16th, 2006. Then again on March 24th, 2009, when I welcomed the two boys into my world, Gavin and Matheson, and they are the best additions to my life. Being a dad is a privilege. Being a dad is a tough job overall. It's the greatest worry that you have, but like a garden as well, you have to tend to it. You have to give it care, and there are some weeds that get there and along the way, and it is kind of a journey. But to all the great dads out there today too, happy Father's Day to you, to my father, Tony, as well, the most loyal. I'm telling you, he's the most loyal man you will ever meet. He is a wonderful dad, has given me a lot of great things in my life, a lot of good work ethic as well. And he's got the biggest heart in the world. He kind of comes off gruff at times, but he's got the biggest heart of the world. And if any of you watching here today know my father, who has been going down to the Ontario Food Terminal since the early 60s and continues to go at age 79, you know that he is one of a kind. There's only one Tony Sr. and my father. Okay, let's get into what's going on in the world of gardening today. Let's. Good morning, Frankie. Happy Father's Day. That's from Marlene. Good morning to you as well, Marlene. Here's another one. Good morning as well from Mark Wilson in Welland. Good morning to you as well. We have, this is Bruce asking a question. Storm damage by hail, hostas broken full of holes. Is there anything we can do to help them survive? This is from Bruce. We did have some severe thunderstorms, and it looks like this is going to be the frequency that we're going to have this summer season, is that we're going to get that warm air push in and the cold air, which then promotes really a lot of lift in the atmosphere that will then create the potential of hail. Hail is damaging, but on hostas, any of those leaves that are severely damaged, I would simply just cut them off. So just simply cut those leaves off, and then they'll reflush right out. Any of the ones that just have a few holes, leave them. But really, it's good to go through the garden. Anything severely damaged, just remove those stems, leaves, broken branches from the hail, and you will do very well. I had some severe hail hit my previous home so bad that we actually had to get a new roof. I had tens of thousands of dollars of damage on my vehicles. My plant material was really knocked back, but I just went through and cut everything back, and boom, it flushed through very nicely overall. So there we go. Rosie is saying, good morning, Frankie. Happy Father's Day to you too. We have, look, this is what I love about the community already. They're already replying. Need to harvest the scapes first. Mine almost ready. I think we're talking garlic. So if you are talking garlic, indeed, when you are growing garlic, there's this thing called escape. And what escape is you'll see the garlic growing up, and then all of a sudden it's like this little twiggly that's on the top of the garlic. And then just right at the end of that twiggly, you'll see a bump. That bump is what's called the scape, which is really a seed pod. So we want to remove those scapes off. And by removing those scapes, we're going to size up that garlic bulb underneath. Those scapes as well can be used. You just take a look at some recipe on garlic scapes. You can actually pickle the scapes if you want to and add them into your Bloody Mary or your Caesar. Boom. You can actually fry them up. The scapes you can use in your sauces if you want to as well. You're going to get that garlic flavor that's there. But indeed, it's the time to be doing that. We have this morning, Susan. Good morning, Frankie. The leaves on my rhododendron are turning brown. This is the first time. What am I doing wrong? So if we're having browning leaves on any type of plant, it's showing us some type of stress. Stress can be caused from overwater, underwater, a disease, and or insect. A rhododendron is a broadleaf evergreen. The browning on the rhododendron can also be a lack of acidity in the soil, because a rhododendron does tend to enjoy more of an acidic soil. So first thing that we would have to do is take a look at that browning leaf, a little closer look. Are there markings on there, or is it just simply turning a yellowish tone and then falling off, dropping, and browning? If that's the case, then that can be a deficiency in iron, a deficiency in acidity in the soil. So really nutrient-based, fertilizer-based. So the best thing that you can do is take a picture of that leaf, although the leaves that are turning brown, and send them to me, frankie@frankieflowers.com, and I can determine whether it's an insect, a disease, or what other kind of stress that's happening to that plant. Another question we have from Liz. Just added canna leaf bulbs into the garden. Am I too late? You're not too late. The cannas will sprout. They'll grow. You may not get the size that you want in the end, but they're going to grow to a form to put the leaves onto that's going to take the tubers. It's a canna tuber that will size that tuber up. So the benefit is that you probably got a great deal on them. I'm assuming that's what happened because there's so many clearouts that are happening right now. There's so many great deals in garden centers right now. If you're thinking about planting, the prices have all come back down because, to be very honest with you, there's a lot of supply of plant material out there. There's a lot. So if you want to get some deals, go out there to the garden centers. But those tubers, if they size up in the fall, you can harvest the tubers, allow them to dry in the sun, get the dirt to all fall off them in the sun, and then you can store them for next year. Plant them next year, if you wish, indoors in pots in late March, early April in a potting soil, and then you can grow them on and then pop them outside, and they'll be that much larger for you. So you're not too late, but you just may not get the size that you want. Question for me here from Matthew. Any Father's Day plans, Frank? Having my dad over here today. We're just going to have a little bit of a barbecue. My sister, my nephew, my boys, and we're just going to hang out. Audra, happy Father's Day. I have an elm tree. I would like to move it away from my garden. The elm is about 6 feet tall and was planted last fall. Do you suggest moving now or in the fall? So when we're moving and or transplanting anything, we want to do it during a period of cooler temperatures. So right now, this week in Ontario, starting on Tuesday, we have a forecasted high of about 32. So we're going into the hottest days of summer. And because we are going into summer, summer officially starts on Tuesday. It's the hottest time of the year. So I would wait now to fall because it'd be cooler on that plant. It's not going to root too much further. It was only planted last year. It should be an easy move. And I would do that in mid-September, for you. Here we go. Happy Father's Day, says Paulette. Once they do, they'll harvest the bulbs. First time garlic planter. So Paulette, what you're going to do is remove the scapes. After you're done removing the scapes, you just leave everything there. And then in late August, early September, as soon as you start to see the green stems of the garlic start to brown and or yellow, they're going to yellow more so than brown. That's showing that that bulb sized up enough, and that's when you're going to harvest. You're going to pull and harvest. So it'll be late August, mid-September. You can even harvest into October. So Paulette, just still wait. Don't worry, we're all first-time gardeners. That's why we're here. We've all done everything for a first time before. Here we go. But gooseberries. This is from Yellow House on the Hill. I like that name. Hi, Frankie. Happy Father's Day. I just found gooseberries in our garden. Do you know when you should pick them? So the gooseberries are going to be when they size up. And so when you go to touch them as well, they should have a little bit of softness to them. So when you're looking at the gooseberry itself, it would change and mature in color. But as well, when you go to just kind of touch that gooseberry, it should have somewhat of a little bit of a softness. Right now, they probably feel incredibly firm. The gooseberries can be picked. Well, we're going to go into some warmer conditions. So probably within 10 days, they're easily picked at that time. So there you go. Is it too late? Here's another question from Leslie. Is it too late to plant dahlias? No. Dahlia bulbs, you can plant them and they'll germinate, and you probably won't get a bloom for another 6 to 8 weeks. So those, you look at the plant and you can actually size up those tubers. But if you're looking to plant dahlias right now from a plant, no problem. It's still not too late to plant. Now that we are going into some really warm conditions, the key is that we really want to keep things well watered. Remember about that morning watering, deep and frequent watering. The hot conditions are really stressful on plants, especially if they go without water. So that deep and frequent watering, make sure good air circulation. So it's still container grown plant material, like some of the nursery stock that you see, trees, shrubs, perennials, and annuals, you can still plant away. When planting, though, I would recommend planting either in the morning and or evening, never during the heat of the day. Always water before you plant as well. Okay, there's a couple things I wanted to remind you about too. One thing I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about is what happened in my garden, and what happened in my veggie garden specifically is this here. So if you've been going into your veggie garden lately and your Swiss chard has been looking a little bit unsightly and the leaves have been getting these almost blistering is the best way to describe them. That is what's called a Swiss chard leaf miner. So that Swiss chard leaf miner is inside the leaf. So being it inside the leaf, it can be a little bit difficult to control. So how we're going to control this is we're going to pinch off all those leaves. If you want to prevent this next season, this is where you can put a floating row cover over to prevent that leaf miner from landing. So what we're going to do is any of the infected leaves, we're going to pinch them off, cut them off, remove them. And then what we're going to do is use an insecticidal soap. By using an insecticidal soap, which is an insecticide once again. And we want to make sure that when we're using those insecticides, I'm just going to show you this Chrome tab as well, is that it is indeed Health Canada approved. So that's what we're doing is we're looking for those that are in stores, insecticides that are Health Canada approved, because they will be okay for you to use on edibles. Yes, indeed. So that's some super important stuff there. But we're going to remove the leaves on that Swiss chard. We are then going to treat with an insecticide, like an insecticidal soap. One that I use is Bug Be Gone, but there are many that are on the market. And then what we're going to do is maybe do a couple of additional applications, and we'll see that the new leaves that come from the Swiss chard will be free of that leaf miner. If you see a few leaves that come up with a little bit, just kick it back. That's the best way to do those control methods. And now is the time where we're starting to see more bugs and slugs and things in our gardens. So take the time to get out there, inspect and take a look, and then identify what you have in terms of an insect, and then find a solution for treating just anything that you're using. Make sure it's Health Canada approved. When you go to your local garden center, your home improvement stores, that is your Lowe's, your Canadian Tires, your home hardwares, any of those places, that's all Health Canada approved items, as well as independent garden centers should. Any good independent garden center should be able to have Health Canada approved material there as well. Okay, here we go back to questions again. How do I treat my rose bushes for some spit-like stuff on them? So that's Spittlebug. Exactly what it sounds like. It's Spittlebug, and Spittlebug's quite common. It doesn't really harm your rose. It just makes your rose look pretty unsightly. First thing you can do is just take your hose and just go over there with a high pressure wash and wash them off. And then in behind, once the foliage dry, go through and use an insecticidal soap. So like a Bug Be Gone, that will treat it as well and take care of it. But the Spittlebug is cyclical, meaning that it's going to come for a period of time, and then all of a sudden it'll actually move and go somewhere else. But it doesn't just happen on roses. What I want you to watch out for roses right now is I really want you to watch out for aphids. So look to the buds, the flower buds of your rose, just underneath the flower bud. If you see any green bumps there, sometimes they're red, brown, those are aphids. Aphids, of course, we can attract ladybugs to the garden. They'll eat the aphids. It's a beneficial insect. So if we see ladybugs, no problem. That's a good thing. But if we want to treat for the aphids, same thing. You can wash them off with a hose, wait till the area dries, and then go and spray with an insecticidal soap as well. Another happy Father's Day shout out, and happy Father's Day to everybody out there. That's from Mag. Thank you very much, Mag. Karen as well saying happy Father's Day. Thank you very much, Karen. We have another one this morning. Happy Father's Day from St. Joseph Island. Amazing. We have an abundance of fern, and they have become invasives and are cropping up everywhere. How can these be better controlled? So, of course, the ostrich ferns, the perennial ferns, can become invasive. They can pop up everywhere. For those areas where you want to not have them pop up, that's where you may want to put down a tarp in the area, and then or a landscape fabric. But you can even get thicker grades of landscape fabric. And then what the landscape fabric, the benefit of a landscape fabric is it allows moisture still to go down through and absorb. And then on top of that, you're going to be mulching quite thick, because we want to reduce light to that. And we also want to make sure that we're restricting its ability to pop through and grow. And then hand removal. There's no simple solution. Even if I was to put a barrier down, a lot of the times the ferns have an ability to almost jump the barrier and start to grow out. So just really using a thicker quality landscape fabric and mulch is your best solution in the areas that you don't want them to grow. You can use non-selective herbicides. There are some available. They kill on contact, but they'll still reflush out. So mulching is your best solution. So remove, and then after you've done removed in that area, landscape fabric goes down, and then a thick layer of mulch. You don't need to buy expensive mulch. You can actually just go to some of the trees that have fallen. If you have a chipper itself, just chip those trees and just put it in that area and mulch it down in that area. Okay, we got another question. This is from Celine. It's my first year with my garden. Congratulations. Many of us have been first gardeners before. Dill and mint are out of control. I want some, but not this much. So with the mint, if you're just planting it for the first time, remove it from your garden, put it in a pot. Mint is an incredibly invasive plant that will come back year after year and will grow everywhere. So if you've just planted it, I would remove it and put it in a container and just have it in a container. The dill and the mint, if you have a lot of it, just keep cutting it back, and just really throw that into the compost. What that'll do is allow you to always have fresh herbs. The key with fresh herbs is constant harvesting them. Dill will probably, in the next little bit, because it's going to become warm, will probably go to seed. And dill often goes to seed at that time. The dill will burn out, so I'm not too much worried about the dill, but the mint itself, watch out. Make sure it goes in a pot, because that guy there can become incredibly invasive. I like that we're thanking people in our community that are answering questions. Thank you. It's Celine, by the way. Oh, hey, there we go. It's Celine, which is one of my previous colleagues that I worked with at City TV that has gone out on her own and has her own, I think it's an Airbnb bed and breakfast kind of thing that she's got going on. And congratulations to you, and way to go for your happiness out there as well. That's always the thing. If you're not happy in life, man, make a change. That's it. If you're not happy with your garden, make a change. Something not providing you bloom each and every year, making you work a little extra harder, and each and every year not giving back, pull that plant out and put a better variety in. Right plant for the right place. Right people in your life will make your life better. Just remember. Penny Moore, I have large crimson maple tree. Beautiful crimson maple is the ones that has the purpley type leaf color, and they stay that color all season long. A red maple is one that's green during the season, then turns red in the fall. That is shading my garden. Yep. Can you recommend some shade flowers, perennials or annuals, to add some color? So when it's underneath a maple, a reminder that maple in that area is your bully, right? So that maple is in there sucking up moisture and really taking away and restricting light. So we got to look for plants for dry shade, or we really need to water quite a bit. Probably the best perennial plants for dry shade, we've already mentioned ferns. They can get out of control, but they do fill an area quite nicely. Hostas, a really nice plant as well. Vinca minor, which is periwinkle, ajuga, those guys there, both Vinca minor and periwinkle. Just always keep that garden well edged so we're not having it grow out of the garden. Beautiful ground covers that are there. Underneath that area, even if you wanted to put a large pot, like so in the garden, you actually have a large container. So it actually elevates and makes it look quite interesting inside that pot. Plant some impatiens or some coleus. Beautiful. They'll give that punch of color right in the center that's there. And then mulch around that entire area. Solomon seal is another great shade plant that you can use as well. Other shade annuals, Browalia, but not as good at performing. You can't beat an impatient in shade. The impatiens that you want to use in shade are a beacon impatient because they're downy mildew resistant. So those are some ideas for you. But just remember, dry shade, so you have to water a little bit more frequently underneath that area, especially until they're established. We have a shout out from good old Montreal this morning. Carolyn, I need to get my way to Montreal this summer. I was supposed to go there to go check out Lufa Farms, and then because of COVID and all those things, that some things changed. But I need to get out to Montreal. Montreal, beautiful city, of course, and it's been some time since I've been there. To the Flower City, Brampton, good morning to you too. Rashid, I hope you guys are doing great. Liz got a question today. Can you suggest a showy tree or good tree for a small front yard? Should I plant in the fall? You can actually plant spring and fall, your best planting season. If you're around for the summer and you're able to water, you can take advantage of some of the deals and plant now. If you're looking for a showy tree, a lot of the time, small showy tree, we're looking for what are called standard forms. So a standard form tree is where we've actually taken a flowering shrub and we've grafted on top of a stem. So some of the limelight standards, the quickfire and ice, which are a hydrangea standards. Some of the hydrangea standards are incredibly showy trees that bloom summer to fall. Great. So they're fantastic, but in spring, they don't really bloom. Another great showy tree is a Miss Kim standard lilac. So you get a standard form lilac, which is a beautiful spring bloom, beautiful showy tree that you're going to get for there as well. If you want something that's going to be a little bit larger as a nice showy tree, crab apples are quite nice. Some varieties of crab apples don't have as large of a crab apple because they give you that beautiful bloom, but then you have to deal with the crab apples thereafter. Another really nice tree that's showy in terms of its foliage is it's a dappled willowed standard. So it's a willow bush that's been standard, put on top of a stem to become a tree. It actually has a nice little pinky kind of leaf on its new flushes of growth. But that guy there, you got to be a pruner because that thing can get out of control and can grow a bunch. So if you're looking for showy, smaller ornamental trees, look at some of the standard tree varieties. If you want something a little bit larger and will provide you with a bit of a bloom as a showy tree, an ivory silk lilac tree. ivory silk lilac tree, but that gets a little bit bigger. So it all depends on the size. So those are some options for you. Here's another question we have from Karen. Is it bad to overwater my hanging baskets? They seem to be doing not so well, maybe too much sun. Is it bad to overwater? So when you're watering your hanging baskets, so you water, and sometimes the water actually flows right out of the bottom. If that flows right out of the bottom, they were already too dry. So water them once and then go back and water again. That'll open up the soil. Your hanging baskets, like yesterday was a sunny day where it was super windy. Those baskets would have dried out yesterday because of the wind and the sun, even though it was cooler. That was a hard day on a lot of plant material. They seem not be maybe too much sun, depends on the variety. So if you have if your house is facing south and or west facing and getting direct afternoon sun, that's where geranium, petunias, those guys would do the best for you in those situations. If you're north or east facing with only morning sun, you're looking at tuberous begonias, Rieger begonias, coleus, some of your ferns, bromelias, even fuchsias. Those would be doing good in that area. So I don't know the variety. So just check for the variety and then look to your light. And then probably you're not overwatering your baskets. I would be really, because your basket's in the air, but it depends on how large the basket is and what soil that you used in that basket. If it was too heavy of a soil, remember in baskets, you need to use a formulated potting soil and or container soil. That will do for you. Nancy. Hi, Nancy. How are you? Happy Father's Day, Frankie. To the father in your life too. Make sure you say Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, Frankie. Good morning from Bolton, Ontario. A very beautiful community as well. I played lots of minor hockey there. Lynn, my grass is full of clover. How do I get rid of them? There's no easy solution. The clover, really, how to get rid of it is to remove that area and or remove the areas where you have a lot of clover and then go in and either sod and or seed over the area. You can use Weed Begone. Weed Begone is a chelated iron. It may need a few different applications that'll knock it back, but many times it won't completely eradicate it. Health Canada has no really improved herbicides to take care of those broadleaf weeds outside of Weed Begone. Weed Begone is the best one that's on the market that's out there. Hand removal, sodding that area, or just accepting the clover in the lawn. There's no simple solution for you guys there. Here we go. A reply to Liz. Japanese maple are great for small spaces and so many choices. As a showy tree, yeah, you were very right as well, Jane. That was a good suggestion. I was thinking more flowering, but from a foliage perspective, you got your blood good Japanese maple. You actually have your cut leaf garnet Japanese maples. So many. Just make sure the zone hardiness, because if you're watching us in Northern Ontario, they're not going to do as well. So when we're selecting a tree, we're always making sure that it's hardy for our zone, meaning that it will overwinter in our zone. The smaller the number, the colder the zone, the higher the number, the more warmth or the less harsh of a winter that it will require. We got another Happy Father's Day out there as well from Shannon. Thank you so much. When is the best time to water a lawn? This is from Rashid. Best time to water your lawn is in the morning, just when sun is rising. That's the ideal time to be watering. It's better to be using not an oscillating sprinkler on a windy day. You're actually losing a lot in evaporation. That's why sometimes just the regular sprinkler heads are a little bit better. Your lawn needs 1 inch of water per week. Everybody's water pressure is completely different. So when you go to turn your water on, take a margin container, put it to the center where the sprinkler is, wait till that container fills, so it can be any container, wait till it fills up to 1 inch and time that, and that'll tell you how long you need to put your hose on. So 1 inch of water per week. Watering in the morning is ideal. If you're watering in the middle of the afternoon, really you're wasting a lot of water because you're having a lot of evaporation. So either watering morning and or a little bit later in the day. The only thing about later in the day, it keeps your gardens wet. And if your gardens are wet with your lawn, then you're actually going to increase disease. So that's why watering in the morning is best. Happy Father's Day, Frankie Flowers. Deborah, thank you so much, Deborah. This is a question, I think, from Mel. I planted peony plant last year, and I noticed there are no buds probably. Does it take time to bloom and flower? So Mel, often the reason why you're not, and thanks, that's from LinkedIn, that question's from LinkedIn today. Peonies, if they're not blooming and or budding, they should, sometimes it does take a couple seasons, but if it's not blooming and or budding, mine I planted last year and they bloomed no problem. If they're planted too deep, they actually won't bloom. So probably what I would really recommend for you is to dig that plant out and just lift it a bit and actually just plant the root ball a little bit above ground level and then hill soil up to it. By lifting it, as long as it's in full sun, you should be able to have those. But often if your peonies are not blooming and they're just all foliage and no flower, the reason for that is they're planted just too deep. Here is another question. What is a good border plant for my flower bed? I'm in Sudbury, Ontario. So Nancy, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for an annual border plant, so like a nice annual color border plant, there's euphorbia, there's alyssum that's often been used as a white border plant, which looks good. You can use it in pink as the alyssum as a border. If you want to use a foliage as a border in sun, you can use Dusty Miller, which is a nice border. And then if you're looking for perennials as border plants, is it for sun and or shade? If you're looking for a border plant that wants to be a nice tight border, we're looking for perennial plants that are mounding. So we could do a beautiful border of coral bells in that area if it was for shade. If it was for sun, we could do a beautiful border of some of the different sedums because they mound nicely. They actually almost create like a little bit of a hedge effect. I would love to see a picture and to see if what it is, if it's sun or shade. So once again, Frankie at frankieflowers.com, send me a picture and we can take a look at it at that time. Here we go. Another question about cherry tomato plant. This is from Merlene. Bought a cherry tomato plant. It's full of tomatoes, but it doesn't appear to be growing. Should I trim some of the green tomatoes? It's always good to remove some of the fruit. Also remove some of the bottom leaves. I was actually a note here was to let people know that some of the bottom leaves of your tomato plants, you should actually be stripping those bottom leaves. That's going to create some more airflow, even on your cherry tomatoes, more light into that plant. If it's not growing, and it seems that it's not growing, is it getting full sun? If it's putting on fruit, it could just be the variety. Tiny Tim tomato, for instance, is a tomato that's really a dwarf bush type variety of a cherry tomato that doesn't get that tall. So it really depends on the variety. So I'd love to know the variety. Strip the bottom leaves. You can remove some of the fruit. That's no problem whatsoever. That'll actually help the other fruit, and just make sure that it's in full sun. Okay. Happy Father's Day, Frankie, says Carolyn, which is great. Here is another question that we have today from Jerry Ann. One of my rose bushes has some spit-like stuff on it, what to do and how to treat like that. That's Spittlebug. You can wash it off, just a high pressure wash with your hose, wait till those areas dry, and then treat with an insecticidal soap like Bug Be Gone. It doesn't really harm your rose bush, just it's pretty unsightly overall. Rosso, good garden so far in Rosso. May, way to go. That's the way to go. Keep me updated on your gardens as well. Happy Father's Day, Frankie. Enjoy your day with the family. Want to give a shout out too, by the way, and thank you for that. Happy Father's Day, Margaret. Earlier this week on Breakfast Television, I had the privilege to go to Long Branch in Etobicoke, Ontario. Next Saturday, June the 25th from 10 to 4, free garden tour in Long Branch, which is amazing. Over 30 gardens. These are smaller gardens, and some of them are so great. Such character. But a free garden tour where you can go and just tour through. So if you live close to Etobicoke, you're looking for something to do and you love to garden, next Saturday, go check out that free Long Branch garden tour. And if you want to know more about plants in your area, find out from your horticultural society or your garden club when they do have garden tours, and go out and tour the gardens. Speak to the gardeners, that is, themselves. Ask them questions about the plants they have. Take a look at the ones you like. Ask the questions about some of the challenges they have, because they know what grows specifically in your area. And take the time to drive around your area and take a look at other people's gardens. See what plants are thriving and surviving. And then those are good selections for you. Those plants that are struggling, or maybe you can see that they've gone out of control, stay away from those plants. But your local gardeners are your greatest source for garden glory. They are. I can help you, but those guys there know a lot more. You are welcome. Here we go with another question. This year I discovered wheat and mustard greens in my garden. Yes. I didn't plant them. Are either invasive. Greens are going into my salads, but wheat, I can't really use them, but it looks great. Heather, I'd be very careful with both of those, because what they'll do is they'll drop seed heads down, and they can become, because they are really growing based upon seeding, they can become fairly invasive overall. So I would, even though you're loving them and they're great, and if you can keep them under control, awesome. If not, I would pull them, especially before they go to flower and or seed. Always pull a weed before it goes to flower and seed. Here we go with another question. Deborah, I purchased several hibiscus plants called Fruit Punch. Yes, I do know them, from the garden center, and potted them up, hoping to bring them in for winter. But I hate the thought of bringing in bugs. Is this worth doing this? Yes, indeed. So in the fall, as soon as we get a little bit cooler in the fall, before bringing them in, we're treating with an insecticidal soap. like a bug be gone. By spraying them in the fall, we're going to ensure that we're not bringing bugs indoors. We allow the soil to dry a little bit. We bring them indoors, and those hibiscus will need to go into a room that has bright light, west or south face room. Windows, not directly in front of the windows, just some nice bright light. When they are indoors, those fruit punch as well, you really want to allow them to dry out in between waterings. When you bring them indoors, they're going to adjust to light levels, so they will drop some foliage. So just a reminder to you. So we're going to answer one more. We're going to give a couple more shout outs here too. Happy Father's Day. Why hasn't my Rose of Sharon come up this year, Julie? Well, it does probably look like it maybe got hit by some severe conditions, either some harsh conditions last summer and then additional harsh conditions this fall. If it's not up by this time, it's not coming up. So that guy there has gone to the great compost pile in the sky. Allie, hi Allie. Hey, happy Father's Day, Frankie from Rome. Hey, Roma. It's great. Great to see that people are traveling and or connecting with us from around the world. Our grass is very green in spot. Marianne, that can be a different variety of grass, which actually could be a variety of an annual fescue, which you need to keep in check and maybe remove it, because if not, it will spread in patches. And the next spring, you'll actually have dead patches all throughout your lawn. And this is going to be the last comment and or question. Penny, is motherwort a weed and should it be pulled out of the garden? A weed is an undesirable plant. Moneywort is something that I wouldn't want. That is, motherwort is something that I wouldn't want in my garden, so it would be removed from my garden. I would remove it overall, but just a reminder for those that have a lot of weeds in their garden, if somebody comes over and criticizes you, you just say, they're not weeds. I like those plants. And as long as you like the plants, they're not a weed. It's all how you look at it, guys. Happy Father's Day to everybody. I hope you guys enjoy joining me for this just over 30 minutes on your Sunday morning. I'm always here to help you with your garden glory. FrankieFlowers.com is my website. You can see me on Monday through Friday on City TV. Go to your local garden centers. My family garden centers are Bradford Greenhouses Garden Gallery in Bradford and Barrie. If you go there, tell them Frank sent you and make sure you smile. If you see my uncles, give them a hard time. And if you see my father, tell him Happy Father's Day. To all the fathers out there, have a great day. Happy gardening. Happy Sunday. And I hope pretty soon you get some tomatoes. I got my first